Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Now that Spider-Man Brand New Day has been released, Marvel and Kevin Feige have been talking about the new X-Men 2028 movie and all the new versions of the X-Men characters that are casting right now, like Sadie Sink Jean Grey. A lot of them just got confirmed, and they're preparing to make even more announcements about them at D23 next week, possibly the full roster and the villains, so we will break it all down. A whole new era of X-Men getting ready to make a name for themselves right after the classic X-Men all come back in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Careful for spoilers for Spider-Man Brand New Day, because we do need to talk a little bit about what happens with Sadie Sink Jean Grey and how that sets up the new X-Men 2028 movie. Kevin Feige did confirm that the events of that movie, the things that Jean Grey, the Spider-Man, Damage Control do, will have consequences that will address what's happening during the events of this new X-Men movie in a couple years. They did the same thing when they introduced Spider-Man in Captain America Civil War with Black Panther. Those characters went off to their solo movies, and the events of Civil War informed what was happening during the events of those movies. All the new X-Men characters, the new mutants that they've announced, are either core X-Men team or they're villains in the movie. The first big one, of course, is Sadie Sink Jean Grey. The unexpected change that Kevin Feige made to her backstory in the MCU is that instead of trying to use a complicated multiverse explainer for her backstory, where she come from, how she wound up in the MCU in the first place, like how she wound up in the events of this movie, or just to say that she was born in the MCU along with her sister, Sarah Grey, who is also a mutant telepath, just like a couple other recent Marvel characters, revealing that they've been here this whole time. And we only just met them in the last couple of movies. Ms. Marvel, Namor, Wonder Man. So Jean Grey is one of the few mutants who were born naturally in the MCU, meaning that they had the X gene and it was expressed when they were adolescent age. And the common thread amongst all of them, amongst all the X-Men and mutant characters, is that something happened when they were younger, when their powers expressed, and they accidentally caused some giant disaster and feel very remorseful and are persecuted or fear persecution because of those powers. Because some of them, like Sadie Sink Jean Grey, are Omega level powerful, like weapons of mass destruction, world-ending potential threats. And Kevin Feige confirmed that this will be a similar thread with all the new X-Men team members that we meet in the 2028 movie, is that they'll all have some common thread with their backstory where something terrible happened because their powers expressed, they couldn't control them, so they don't know what to do, and they're persecuted for it, so they seek out help from like-minded people at Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, where they can learn to control their powers and try to redeem themselves and do something good with their abilities. This was a very big thing during Spider-Man Brand New Day, where Sadie Sink Jean Grey winds up doing a lot of really bad stuff for a good reason, like you understand why she does what she does, but she's actually kind of a villain during the movie, and after a little pep talk that she gets from Aunt May inside Spider-Man's head, inside his memories, and from Spider-Man himself, she decides that she's going to be better and she's going to redeem herself, so she's on this bus to upstate New York, heading towards Westchester maybe, and possibly the X-Mansion in the X-Men 2028 movie in a couple years.
To the public, we're merely a school for gifted youngsters. Cyclops, Storm, and Jean were some of my first students.
Like she's seeking a better path forward, great power, great responsibility. That's basically the speech that Spider-Man gives her at the end of the movie. That's the beauty of it, is that Spider-Man gives somebody else the great power, great responsibility speech. The other important thing is that as far as Marvel has indicated right now before Avengers Doomsday, all the other X-Men and villains won't show up till after Avengers Secret Wars in the soft Marvel reboot, where some key changes in the MCU 616 Earth happen and mutants start showing up everywhere. Marvel Phase 7 is launching the mutant era of the MCU, the Mutant Saga. The reason why they just started announcing all these new X-Men actors like Cyclops and Emma Frost are because they're getting ready to start filming the movie, and they want to capitalize on the hype from Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is on track to earn over $2 billion at the box office. So they're like, the time is right now, let's start announcing our new X-Men because people are excited for Marvel again. Doomsday X-Men are basically there to remind everyone how cool the X-Men are who haven't seen an X-Men movie in theaters in a good long while, or like a real solid X-Men movie, because the last one was X-Men Dark Phoenix, and that kind of went out with a whimper. Next big confirmed X-Men actor is Cyclops. He's going to be played by Kit Connor. He's mostly known for Heartstopper, which he did with Joe Locke, who is Wiccan, aka Billy Maximoff in the MCU, Scarlet Witch's son. But I actually think Warfare was why Kevin Feige cast him, which is more recent and a more traditional war drama. Absolutely solid movie if you haven't seen it. Most casual fans, when they see an X-Men comic or they think of the X-Men movies, they think of action, but really X-Men at its core is a character drama, sometimes veering heavily into full-blown melodrama, like a soap opera for boys originally that just broadened its scope over time, that has a lot of action in it. Just look at all the Jean Grey, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Wolverine memes, it'll be diabolical going forward. Kit Connor also played a version of Romeo in one stage production, and Sadie Sink played Juliet in another stage production, so it was fate. Make of that what you will. Mom and Dad of the X-Men team are here. During Spider-Man Brand New Day, Sadie Sink is supposed to be an older teen, so I think when we head into that new X-Men 2028 movie, she'll maybe have aged up like 1 year, depending on how much time goes by between this and Secret Wars, we'll see, but essentially much older teen, the same way that Spider-Man was 15, 16 during Captain America Civil War, then 16 during Spider-Man Homecoming, and we followed him through high school. So Sadie Sink's Jean Grey, the other X-Men actors, will be older teens to younger 20s, not all the exact same ages, but that age range. I know there's going to be questions about the age gap with Wolverine. They're not going to recast the younger Wolverine for a little bit longer, but yes, he's going to be way, way older than all the other characters in context, even though he'll look like he's much closer in age. They just dropped the trailer for that Robert Pattinson, Chris Hansen movie, so people have been posting all the memes of older Hugh Jackman Wolverine with younger Sadie Sink because she actually met him in real life a long, long time ago when she was much younger. But the whole idea with the younger X-Men cast is that Marvel is using the X-Men 2028 movie to onboard a bunch of brand new Marvel fans who have never watched a Marvel movie before and might not be seeing Avengers Doomsday or even Secret Wars. So for a lot of younger kids, this will be their first X-Men movie in their introduction to all the characters. They're trying to get a new generation of fans interested in Marvel and X-Men stuff. Making the Sadie Sink Stranger Things comp, it's kind of like younger kids getting into Stranger Things Season 1 and just growing up with the actors following them across the 10 years almost of the show. The next really big confirmed character is Samara Weaving playing the new Emma Frost. She's mostly known as a scream queen. Ready or Not has been her big franchise so far, but she's done a ton of other horror and thriller movies. If you have ever watched a regular clip of her just hanging out being regular, 100% she gives Emma Frost vibes from the comics. She will be great.
She's quick and she throws fans and cuts people's heads off. What more do you want in a woman? I don't know what that says about me. Maybe it's my British heritage that we're all really repressed and we need an outlet, and it makes us better people.
I cannot wait to see how she torments Kit Connor Cyclops and Sadie Sink's Jean Grey in the future of the MCU. There are whole eras of the comics where she just does terrible, terrible things to both of them. And even though Cyclops is mostly known for his love of Jean Grey, he was with Emma Frost for a good long while in the comics too. For the most part though, I think that Emma Frost in this new 2028 X-Men movie is going to be part of the Hellfire Club because it looks like they're also casting a new Sebastian Shaw. Emma Frost didn't actually turn good until the Generation X era in the 90s, and then didn't actually join the X-Men team until the early 2000s during Grant Morrison's run, which they're actually in the middle of adapting right now on X-Men 97 Season 2. Supposedly Adam Driver is rumored for the new Sebastian Shaw too, so make of that what you will. Kevin Feige also told the joke that one of his annual traditions is offering roles for big Marvel characters to Adam Driver, and Adam Driver turning them down. The last big one was actually Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four movie. So we almost had Adam Driver as Reed Richards in the MCU. Imagine how much different that would have felt, like the more serious, more hardcore version of Reed Richards. He almost feels like he'd make a better Maker than he would a Reed Richards. But it does let you know that Marvel wanted him more than they wanted Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. And Kevin Feige did say that they offered him previous roles before that too, so you can theory craft what other roles before that the last several years that they've been offering Adam Driver and that he continued to turn down. Next really big one is Charles Melton is reportedly the current leading pick for Hank McCoy Beast. He just starred in Beef Season 2 with Kayleigh Spaney, who's also reportedly up for the role of Rogue. Both of them are great actors, and Beef Season 2 was okay. It wasn't my favorite season of Beast. I think Season 1 was a little bit better. But I wouldn't have originally thought Rogue when I see Kayleigh Spaney. She wasn't on my list for Rogue, but she was great in Alien Romulus. She's done more character pieces since then, like Knives Out, Wake Up Dead Man, and Beef more recently. I also just learned that she's from the same hometown that I'm from, but she came long after my time. I've never actually met her in real life, but it is funny when you see a huge actor blowing it up and then notice that they literally came from the same small Midwestern town that you came from. Because they're doing Rogue, I wonder if they're also doing a new Gambit, but I believe Kevin Feige said a while ago that Channing Tatum's older Gambit in Avengers Doomsday will be the only Gambit we see for a while, so the new younger Gambit might not show up till like the second new X-Men movie or some other X-Men related side movie. There will be other mutant-based movies besides the mainline X-Men movies in the future. It sounds like Ryan Reynolds is turning Deadpool 4 into an X-Force type of movie. That's just one example of other X-Men-based movies. For all you fans of Obsession and Indy Navarrete, she was talking to Marvel and Jake Schreier about playing a character in the new X-Men movie. She personally mentioned wanting to play the new Mystique, and fans have been making a lot of art of her as Mystique, but she didn't confirm whether or not she got the part or if she's playing some other character. Also, real ones remember her from Superman and Lois. Bill Skarsgård, of all people, and Christopher Abbott were competing for the role of Professor X as like the two leading pigs, but it's unclear which one got the part or if it's going to wind up being somebody else, some other wild card. But it would be crazy that the Pennywise version of Professor X, I don't think I've ever seen Bill Skarsgård play anything but horror or thriller characters. He is so good at playing creepy characters. I just wonder what his Professor X would feel like. Christopher Abbott also just played another Marvel character. He was Foreigner during the Kraven movie, so make all the Morbin time memes, it's Kraven time in the MCU. Reminds me of people like Chris Evans, who played Johnny Storm in the classic Fantastic Four movies before he became Captain America of the MCU. Like, much, much bigger character, depending on how you look at it. Some people would view Johnny Storm as a really big character, but I think when all is said and done, Chris Evans will ultimately be remembered for his Captain America more. But did come back in Deadpool and Wolverine as that original Johnny Storm again.
Avengers! Flame on! Sorry, what now?
Have not seen a lot of Christopher Abbott's other stuff, movies, TV shows, so I don't have a huge opinion about him. I'll try to leave that door open because everybody complained about Heath Ledger when he was first cast as the Joker in The Dark Knight back in the day, but then turned in a generational Joker performance that has yet to be topped. One of the other most hyped new characters, Storm, sounds like it might wind up being Jamie Lawson. She's the leading pick. She's mostly known for Ryan Coogler's Sinners. She was also just in Running Man, but arguably Sinners is like the big thing people are pointing to because Ryan Coogler is spinning wheels up for Black Panther 3, and he said he's going to be putting mutants or a big mutant in that movie, and it might be Storm. He just announced that he cast David Johnson as the adult T'Challa, his son, the new Black Panther, at Marvel's big Comic-Con panel this summer. So maybe Black Panther 3 starts laying the track work for an eventual Storm-Black Panther relationship from the comics down the road in future movies because of the way it eventually plays out in the comics. Storm is the princess of an African tribe not that far from Wakanda, so there's just a lot of opportunities for the two of those characters to logically show up next to each other, meet each other, either around the places that they live or around the world during big X-Men mutant-era conflicts. You'll also notice on the official D23 poster for the D23 celebration next week, Storm is featured next to Spider-Man and Sue Storm. They're all together, so it sounds like most of the X-Men team are going to be announced at the D23 next week, particularly Storm and her actress. For people asking about Wolverine, there are going to be tons of Wolverine questions. Daphne Keane is reportedly being asked to come back as her X-23 if she wants, but it's unclear if it's for this new X-Men 2028 movie or for a separate movie. She's in her 20s right now, she's still very young, so we all assumed after Deadpool and Wolverine that she'd be back for more, but I don't think she's meant to replace Hugh Jackman as the main Wolverine of the MCU. Kevin Feige is recasting Wolverine with a younger actor, but because Hugh Jackman is so popular and they're doing so much with him in Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, supposedly the plan right now is to let him continue after Secret Wars in the MCU movies for a little while, in cameos, crossovers, then slowly transition to more of an Old Man Logan recurring cameo status like Wolverine Emeritus. Chairman of the board Wolverine, who just shows up for meetings every once in a while, then recast a younger main MCU Wolverine who will join that new X-Men team and interact with all those characters on a regular basis. And this is why there won't be a new younger Wolverine in this first X-Men 2028 movie. It sounds like the new team will be a version of the original 5 from the comics, mixed with some additions, some swaps for X-Men 97 characters or other later X-Men teams. The original 5 in 1963, when X-Men comics started, were Cyclops leading the team, Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, and Angel. I think Kevin Feige is swapping Storm for Angel, who can also fly, and much bigger, more popular character in Rogue for Iceman. I don't know if Iceman is going to be in this new X-Men movie, but he'll eventually show up at some point. We'll see about Nightcrawler. Colossus, Wolverine, Storm also didn't join that X-Men team until the second huge roster change in the 70s, which is when I say some of the people on this new X-Men team will be from the second version of the roster. There's still a ton of other characters to fill out the roster, like what about Magneto? How can you have an X-Men movie without Magneto? I have not heard any rumors about who's going to play the new version. Ian McKellen is returning with Patrick Stewart's Professor X and the other original X-Men actors in Avengers Doomsday, so I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Feige holds off on announcing the new recast Magneto until after Doomsday. For the most part, I think they want to focus on the main team at D23, or at least just Storm's character and maybe a couple other new main team members. And then this rest of the year, we'll just hear about the other side characters trickling out as they get ready to start filming. Jake Schreier, who just did the Thunderbolts movie, is directing this new X-Men movie. According to Sadie Sink, it starts filming next year. Marvel currently has 3 movies scheduled for 2028. They confirmed Ghost Rider is July, Black Panther 3 is December, so there's still a May movie, and I think they're going to confirm at D23 this X-Men movie is coming out May 2028, and it'll be the first movie after Avengers Secret Wars, launching the X-Men era of the MCU, so it just sounds natural that they would give this the first slot right after Secret Wars. Like, boom, brand new era, brand new group of fans getting onboarded for Marvel movies, becoming fans of everything. Just in terms of other big X-Men mutant-based characters in movies, Ryan Reynolds will continue as Deadpool, that's already been confirmed, but he said that he wants to take more of a Hugh Jackman Wolverine cameo approach going forward, where he just appears in other people's movies. It doesn't have to lead movies anymore, and that's why he's developing Deadpool 4 to launch something like an X-Force line of movies or similar spin-off X-Men team that can have its own sequels, and he can just pop up in those in the background occasionally down the road. But because D23 is next week, expect a lot of X-Men announcements. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below to all the castings, and let me know who else you want to see show up in this X-Men 2028 movie. Marvel hasn't said everything they're going to be doing at D23, but mostly they use it to hype up the TV show, so we might get a Vision Quest trailer. I will do whatever videos they do wind up releasing stuff for, especially all the X-Men announcements too, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Everybody click here for all my Spider-Man Brand New Day videos, and click here for all my Avengers Doomsday videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.